Guess who's full of sin? That guy!
I like the over-the-top shit.
Do you have any friends that are overly prideful? I do.
Ashby.
Yes. Yes. Uh-huh. Says the least proud of all of us. Hello!
Welcome to Bad at Board Games.
Well, he's bad at board games.
I'm Brad Blake.
I'm Toph Ferguson.
And we're bad at board games, so you don't have to be.
I just hit you.
Okay. It didn't hurt.
You sure I didn't hurt your pride any?
No.
Okay, good. Just making sure.
I have a big ego.
That he does. Glad you just cracked yourself up. It's the little things, y'all.
I'm the only one that laughs.
The little things.
I am the only one that laughs at the stupid things that come out of my mouth. Ask anybody.
It's true. It's true.
Anyway, stick around, find out what our BGG rating is of this game, the predecessor, as I like to say, to Cthulhu Death May Die.
What?
Yeah. It's out of print. You've probably seen a bunch of reviews on this, or if you haven't, we're just going to talk about it anyway.
Yeah.
So stick around to the end if you're interested. Toph, what is The Others?
Yes, The Others is a 2016 game designed by Eric Lang, one of our favorite designers.
Definitely.
And published by CMON. It definitely has a bit of a cooperative, semi-cooperative horror theme, something that I am definitely known for liking when it comes to tabletop gaming. So in The Others, one person is playing as the sin, or kind of the evil side, which would definitely be that guy right there. The rest
I feel that role well.
He does. He does. Listen to his pride coming straight through right now. So the rest of us will all band together as the Faith as we try to explore the lands, kind of a dungeon crawl, to kill monsters and I guess save the Faith.
Save heaven.
Yeah, I've got to
city
save
of heaven. Haven.
You know, nothing like having that weight on your shoulders. We're all doomed if it's like comes down to me saving heaven.
You're a special group of operatives that include a werewolf, some girl that has tentacles coming out of her arms, which I don't understand that, and
we're Thorley.
Hellboy,
yes,
as I like to say.
Yeah. We're a bunch of misfits.
Not red Hellboy, with both his horns. They're the faithful.
Yes, we are the faithful. So we are playing through this dungeon as Sin is kind of developing and as Sin is getting more powerful and interrupting our movements and everything we're doing as we are just trying to defeat the monsters and stop the progress of evil.
Keep the cult from taking over the city.
Which is going to happen. One way or another. Either the cult is going to take over very quickly, or we are going to attempt to save it.
Yeah.
Probably the former.
So if you are familiar with Cthulhu Death May Die, Zombicide to some extent, it's the same appearance, same kind of artwork, same wonderful minis from CMON. I mean, regardless of if you like CMON or not, their miniatures they're top notch. I think, for me, it's from a board game perspective, not a war game perspective. Awakened Realms and CMON are kind of vie, for my opinion, in the top one or two, depending on which one it is. And then, they've got the same thick cardboard map, and it's dual-sided, and typically they're dual-sided. Some of them, these aren't, interestingly enough. So the smaller ones are. That allow you to create the different boards, a la Zombicide, a la Cthulhu Death May Die. But these aren't the thin little pieces of paper like you would normally see in Zombicide. Cthulhu Death May Die has a thick cardboard, and so you kind of feel like things kind of stay together a little bit better. And then you have your overarching round board. You're going to have 3 or 4 different missions, maybe 5 that you can choose from. Tells you what map to set up, and then which sin are you going to go and choose to go with that scenario. And then, it's just kind of slick. I think it looks nice. It's what you would expect. It's what I was expecting, wanting to check this out versus Cthulhu Death May Die. I know I've talked a little too long, but the appearance is exactly what I was hoping it would be.
Yeah, it's not too bad. The dice are nice, the minis are nice, and it works. It works well with mechanics as well. Having the modular board is definitely a huge advantage when it comes to these type of games where you might feel samey one game from the next unless you have that variability of the play. So with this game, mechanic wise, what you're going to notice if you've not played something like the Zombicides, Death May Dies, or similar style gaming, you're going to notice area movement. You're going to notice semi-cooperativeness. Sometimes it's fully cooperative. In this game, it is one versus many, and so you don't have an AI that's playing against you. You actually have somebody who is taking upon all of the sin of the world, fighting against us, the rest of us. You also have dice rolling. I think that's one thing that some people love, some people hate. I love dice rolling in games. I don't want a whole lot of luck, but I do like the dice. And I like when they do a good job of designing dice that are a little bit different. So this is not just your standard D6s. They are printed. They have specific things on it. You can kind of play a little bit of the statistics in your mind as you're playing through. Do I want to even attempt a roll, or do I want to try something different? So dice rolling is great. One thing that I think is different about this versus some of the other games, similar styles I've played, is this one has interruptions that comes into it. That is a fun way of being able to take what should just be an AI and actually making it a player. As we were playing through this game, Brad was able to, as the sin, stop what we're doing automatically and make a change to the game. And that was different. That was extremely frustrating at some points. And at other points, you just kind of saw the beauty of these dungeon crawls come out as kind of a game master is taking over and setting a stage. You do have a little bit of variable player powers. You have upgrade abilities. You have other mechanics in it, but by and large, this is a dungeon crawl, dice chucking, upgradable game.
Yep. And so to kind of talk about an overview of how to play the game, right? I kind of talked about the setup, but the setup is pick one of these scenario boards. This one is Haven's Last Stand. This is kind of the intro, what they recommend. On the back, it tells you a couple different map scenarios that you can put out, tells you where to place all your guys. And on this side is the objectives that the heroes have to go through to win the game. And as the game advances, worse and worse things are going to happen. It's going to ratchet itself up. The bad guys are going to get, I don't know if they get more powerful, but they get more stuff, right? You get to place another monster out every turn. You get to draw from these cards that are kind of like the Cthulhu Death May Die Mythos cards, and they may have a more powerful mini boss, or they may have, like, you always get extra bad things that happen when you roll the dice. Things like that are going to happen about every other turn.
They call that the apocalypse, I think, as it starts coming in.
And then you're going to get to pick, in the base game, an acolyte. And there's 3 different kinds of acolytes. You have the corrupt nuns, you have the corrupt hobos, and then you have the corrupted doctors. So each one of them gives you a little bit of player variability as far as being the sin character and how that will implement against the heroes as they're, thwart them, so to speak, as they're trying to, like, save the city. So that's the setup, and then I'll let you talk about the hero side of the movement, and then I'll talk about how the bad guys kind of interfere with your plans.
Yeah, so the bulk of the play of this game is going to be through the faith, through the heroes of the game. And with this game, you do have a handful of heroes you're starting with. You have the ability to work together. It's cooperative to decide who is going to go first. It's not just a who goes when they want to go, though, because you are going to be going in a limit. So Brad continues to talk with us about this being a puzzle, and that's part of it, trying to figure out who's going to go when and why. As you go through your playing of the game, you only have 2 things that you can do. You can move up to 2 spaces, and then you can take an action, or you can take an action and then move up to 2 spaces. So you don't have a whole lot that you can do in any one turn, but you're going to go through. I think when we were playing, most of us had 2 turns that we could take. Sometimes you might be able to gain some extra actions through various things on the board, maybe player upgrades or through individual player abilities. But you have this ability to move around the board, try to figure out what you're going to do, maybe kill some monsters, maybe go for some objectives. You have a few free actions that you can take. It is extremely limiting. And at the same time, after a while, you get into a routine. You know exactly what's going to happen as you move throughout the board and try to work towards completing objectives. The objective track itself is linear, so you're not doing everything all at one time. You do one objective, and then you do the next objective, and then you do the next objective. So the goal is to be able to work, I would say, quickly through the objectives in order to be able to get to that final objective that's going to allow you to win the game, which is not total elimination. It could be something else. It could be a specific little one thing that you have to do to stop the enemy from advancing.
And so what Toph was saying with, you get, basically, this is the wrong marker, right? But each player gets 2 turn markers. And then as the Sin player, when we played, I had 3 interrupt markers. And so Toph's character would get to go, and he would flip one of these over to say, one of my 2 turns has been used. And then everything goes clockwise. So you don't just get to, I'm going to use both my characters, and then the other person is going to use his both. And you have to pick, like, who's going to start the round, and then it goes in clockwise order from there. So, even that who's going to go that first round matter, right? And then as the Sin player, I don't get to just rush I see where everybody is. All my monsters are going to move 2 spaces to them and attack them and kill them. You don't get to do that. I have 3 markers that will interrupt, and they played 2-handed, 2 heroes each. So they had 8 turns to my 3 interrupts. And then I get a few cards that get limited as the game goes on that I can use kind of as a freebie at certain times, at the start of a person's play turn, or after they've rolled, or during something else, right?
Or if somebody has something or does something specific, like some condition.
So those conditions kind of have to be met, right? But they help, boost things along, and so you're not just able to like swarm and go after you, and you're not just able to like drop a bunch of things down into one area. When you spawn people, you have to be on one of these sun tiles, nests. So it creates a puzzle for the Sin player, as it's like, when do I choose to go and interrupt? And when you interrupt, I can take a figure and move it 2 spaces towards that active player. I can't go toward anybody. Because that other person, they're weak, right? So I'm just going to run over there and do it and kill that person with everybody on everybody's turn. No, you have to, whoever's the active player, that's who you have to go towards. So that there's these restrictions, and I think that it plays out well. Like, I'm sure they playtested this, and it was like, oh, well, that was great. You just ran everybody at me and killed that guy, and it's really easy for you to win. So they're putting these limitations on the Sin player in order for you to have an intelligent AI instead of just playing against the game. So, I found that pretty cool. A lot of the damage I was doing to Toph and Alex when their characters wasn't really physical fighting damage. It was when I was rolling, and if you play Cthulhu Death May Die, they call it corruption here, insanity in Cthulhu, but I was doing a lot of my wounds through corruption more so than I was in the fighting.
Yeah. With this game, just like a lot of those Zombicide style games, you are battling through dice rolls. And so we typically would initiate that as the heroes. We would attack one of Brad's characters. We would roll a number of dice based on our character and the abilities that character has. And then Brad would have a different set of dice that he would be rolling against us in response. And that would show how many hits you have, how many of these corruptions that you may take, or from our side, how many corruptions we can block against the other player. So you have this kind of luck-based game, but at the same time, it is fun. You can do things to increase the number of dice that you have, so you can throw better rolls out. And because it's cooperative, you can say, my guy really does suck at fighting, so I'm going to use him to go around and try to clean up the board from all these terrible things that Brad is laying down, while I allow other people to come in and do the fighting. And that corruption really, it was killing us. That was what was killing us. Yeah. We were pretty good against you, like blocking your physical attacks, but that corruption, as it gets higher and higher and higher, all of a sudden you have to take a lot more physical damage, and then your player dies, your character dies. And so then you might be able to roll into a different character if there is one available, and if not, well, you lose.
Yeah, so I guess that brings into how does the sin player win then, right? So it's not player elimination so much. There is a reserve pool. I think it's 7 deadly sins. There's 7 heroes, right? So as they were playing 4 characters, they have 3 characters in reserve. As the sin player, I'm trying to kill 4 of their characters, because the first 3 they're going to be able to bring somebody out and continue to play. And then when I kill that 4th character, there's nobody left in reserve. The team, is down to 3, and they don't have anybody else. Then the team falls apart, so to speak.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the goal of the sin player, and as the game goes on, it ratchets up, and it doesn't necessarily end, but then the players start losing 2 wounds a turn at the very end. So they're either going to die or they're going to complete their mission.
Yeah. And we have a finite number of turns. We have 7 turns in order to be able to complete the objectives that we have. And if we don't complete that, or if we lose our team members down to 3, we lose. So yeah.
So
it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So we'll go into our pros and cons. Or I'll give you a little hint. Toph was frustrated at the beginning of this. I haven't seen him frustrated in a game in a long time.
I was extremely frustrated in this game, and it was not the good type of frustration.
No, he was. At the first 30 minutes, it was like very.
I did not like the game at all in the beginning, and it was. So I'm a Euro gamer. Let's go ahead, and if you're new to the channel, surprise, I'm a Euro gamer.
But love Cthulhu Death May Die.
I love Death May Die. Yeah, there are some games that are outside of this realm of Euro game that I like. Yeah. With this game, Brad had talked about it being kind of what we feel is a precursor to Cthulhu Death May Die. Mm-hmm. I love Death May Die. It's one of my absolute favorite games of all times. I rate it almost a 10 out of 10 BGG. This one I sat down and I just felt like I could do nothing. And it wasn't the I can do nothing in a kind of fun, tension-filled game. It was damaging. Like, it was so punishing, I felt like I couldn't do anything. Now, granted, Brad did get a rule wrong, and so we thought we could only move 1 space. You can actually move 2 spaces and then still take an action. But still, even with that, in the beginning of the game, it was extremely punishing. Not tight, but punishing. As the game progressed, that did let up. And it was still punishing, but it wasn't as bad. It was more of the tight gameplay of, I need 3 actions, and I only have 2 that I can take. Whereas in the beginning of the game, it was, this game sucks. I really did not like it in the very beginning. So,
in the beginning of the game, it's, you don't have anything as the hero, and there's all the monsters are on the map, like all but
a ton
one.
Of them. Yeah,
right. And so the puzzle, it's a puzzle at the beginning, and then it starts to become an action game as the game goes on, and as you start, you're not necessarily leveling your character up. It does have this kind of a corruption path, but you only get to use this when you choose to go up in corruption. And so unlike Cthulhu Death May Die, where you go up in insanity and you just permanently have those abilities, these are kind of like one-shots. When do I want to push myself, and then I'm a little bit closer to taking wounds when Brad rolls corruption dice, because I'm already maxed out. When do I want to do it? So it's more of a puzzle in that aspect. When you're trying to move and do things. So I don't know, the best way I could explain it, at the beginning, it almost feels like a Euro puzzle. How am I going to, versus like Rambo, and I'm just gonna, I gotta go out and I gotta start rolling dice and I'm just gonna do whatever I want. It's not that. It really does kind of like, but then it starts to open up and they're killing people faster than I can spawn them, and then it really opens up, and then they're able to like do and continue to get all these weapons and things like that.
Yeah, it took us a couple full rounds of play in order to be able to get to the point where we were getting upgrade cards that were able to assist us. So again, if you're familiar with Death May Die, instead of the ability that you're getting, these are cards that you're getting, and then you do have the one-time upgrades, I guess you would call them, use with corruption. So that is kind of fun. Thematically, the corruption track is awesome. You can choose on your turn to take additional corruption to gain a benefit, and kind of as the faith to be tempted to take corruption, little things like that, I think came through. That was interesting, but it took some time. By the end of the game, I was warmed up to it, and I was like, okay, this isn't that bad. But
yeah, it takes a little bit of a getting used to.
Yeah.
So what kind of pros did you have? I think at the end you had a pro. You were invested.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely, as we got close to the end of the game, it had that tension-filled excitement of, are we going to win or are we not going to win? And, completing the second round of objectives to get to the final round of objectives, once we got to that round, it was like, okay, this is simple. I know we're going to win. It's not going to be a problem. Getting to that point, it was a lot of tension. And that's a good thing. That tension I like. That tension of, it's going to come down to the final play. And either we're going to win or we're going to lose. That's fine. I don't care if I win or lose as long as I'm in it and not getting steamrolled the whole game. For me, one of the things that I really liked was getting to know the characters because they are slightly different. The idea of being able to say, okay, I now know, like, for example, I played Coral. Carl here is a werewolf, and sometimes he can be a human. Sometimes he can be a werewolf. And depending on his state, he has different abilities or different stats. Yeah. So either he's really good at killing things as a werewolf, or he's really good at clearing up the mess that Brad is putting down in terms of new like fire damage points and things like that. And so that was good. And then my other character was a leader, and she was able to give somebody an extra turn. So knowing, like, getting to know how these individual players or characters did different things, that's a lot of fun. With Death May Die, I've never played Death May Die having multiple characters at one time. I don't normally like that. Even when I solo games, I just want to truly solo it, not have multiple characters. But that was fun, and being able to play it with seeing 4 characters out against you and using their abilities, that was a lot of fun. So that I do get that puzzly aspect from you and how you describe that with that. That's definite pro for me.
Yeah. And then as I started to read the rules and understand how to play it, I was like, oh, this is interesting because Cthulhu Death May Die, it's cooperative and you're playing against the game, right? And this one is being a one against many, but the one has a lot of limitations in it. It felt like, okay, you're trying to have a human behind the AI, right? So, and that can have flaws and not see all the optimum stuff, where a lot of times when you're playing against the game, it's just like, how hard and mean are the designers making that AI come out and beat you or make you do things or lose things or whatever? There's a method, no pun intended, to the madness, of the game. And I thought, I'm like, that's really cool. You're kind of a DM as the monster, as the sin. And so I'm like, this is kind of interesting. And I enjoyed seeing, this is, Cthulhu Death May Die 1.0, and then there's 2.0 with that one and 3.0 with the next one and so forth and so on. So I've just found it interesting to see all the little threads that connected the two games where this one came before it. So
yeah, I'm interested to know if I would like Death May Die so much if I played this first, like what I want to get into Death May Die. Maybe not. I don't know, but
some people love this. Like, we have one guy, he's like, this is one of his favorite games because he says it for him and his crew, it always came down right to the wire.
Yeah.
Right. So,
and I feel like our game came down pretty close. Now I
was really trying to carry it on right at the end. I killed probably 3 people. Like once this guy spawned, I was knocking some people off, but I wasn't able to kill enough.
Yeah, you definitely did some things.
Yeah.
Other things I really liked, and we mentioned this already, but the upgrades, the cards, I did like those. You can stack as many of them as you want, as long as you get them. Now, getting them is quite difficult. You have to be able to get to specific rooms to be able to get things that you need, or you have to balance, do I want an upgrade card or do I want to go somewhere that can improve my health? So take away some of the damage or take away some of the corruption that you may have gained, things like that. And for me, I never want a character to die at all, even though if there is another one I can kind of morph into. And so that was a balance for me. Alex definitely is not as afraid of killing off his own characters. He had a ton of upgrade cards in front of at least one of his, if not 2. So, those upgrades, that was pretty cool. It comes through an upgrade market that you can kind of pick and choose from.
So you got to market. I think it's 4 or 5 cards that you put out, and then when you go to one of the buildings, place your marker down. You can
grab one. Yeah. So that was good. That helped us a lot as we would continue through, because you did get things that would allow you to sneak past monsters, or allow you to sneak past fire, or allow you to fight better. You know, something like that. Gives you an extra dice as you play.
Yeah. So another pro for me that I call, Cthulhu calls them the Mythos cards, but they've got, a couple different card sets for the Pride player or for the scenario that you're in, actually. So, I liked those, and it's another one of those where they're being cautious. So on this sheet here, tells you when you get to draw one of these, and it's not every turn you get to draw one of these, because you've got there's 3 different bosses in here, I think 3 or 4, and then they get pretty powerful because you have to kill that character in one roll or one encounter, right? They don't take wounds, and the wounds don't carry over. More like Zombicide than Cthulhu Death May Die. So that's why I'm saying, you're seeing some mechanics from both different games that were in this game. So, I like that. I liked being able to have a few of these powerful cards, but then they limit you with these and how many more you can draw every turn. I thought it was well designed. So.
Yeah, the punishing beginning was probably my biggest negative. Yeah,
but it's probably, I should have prepped you for that, but at the same time, I think being used to it, you'd probably be like, okay, I know where we're headed.
I think that might be something that as I play more and more, I get used to, and
we haven't played this 10 times, so we're talking about it.
Yeah, from limited plays, eventually that could be something I could see myself wanting to play this again. It's not like I never want to play this game. I definitely enjoyed it as we got going, but it took a long time for me to actually find the first moment of, okay, now I'm ready for my next turn.
Yeah, and the same with me. First time I played Cthulhu Death May Die, I never wanted to play it again, and I didn't play it again for over a year. I
love that game.
Yeah, and now I love it. It's one of my top games of all time. So, just realize that sometimes things hit out of the park, and you wait a year, and you come back to it, and you're ready for it, and understand it a little bit better. Then it can be for you.
Yeah. So. Do you have any negatives?
My negative. So I think it's more fun to be on the hero side.
I agree,
because in Cthulhu Death May Die, you get to go around and kill monsters and stuff like that. And then on the, you do feel like the DM from Dungeons and Dragons. And not everybody wants to be the DM. Everybody wants to be the party and go around and do stuff. And there's people that love being the DM. And I liked being the Sin player. I liked doing it, and I liked seeing what they were doing. And I wanted them to have fun, but I felt like I was more playing a game to try to make sure the people I was playing against were having fun, versus being able to just have fun myself. Kind of I'm just going to, so it's kind of being the Sin player, and it's probably why I would think they went to a cooperative against the game and having to iron that game out with Cthulhu Death May Die, because it is just more fun to go around and get powerful, kill things, and more things keep spawning out and stuff like that. So because you do have a person on the Sin side, I liked the mechanics. I understood why they did what they did, but then you couldn't just throw a bunch of guys out on the board all in the same spot, and as you would in a war game or something like that. So it's a positive and a negative, but it's still kind of a con. So I want to be on the other side of the game.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I can understand that. I like cooperative games a lot. In the semi-cooperative, I'm not as huge of a fan of, because I want to work together as opposed to sitting down and being all of one versus another. So,
but it's still nice. Yeah, I'm just saying, I could see that. To me, that was a con.
Yeah.
For you,
I think one of the big cons that I have is actually the theme. The implementation of the theme into the game. So I mentioned one of the things I really like about it is the corruption track, and how the theme fits with these faith players having to take corruption in order to do better things. That I think is awesome. What I did not see at all is anywhere at all in this game where pride came out. So we were playing the Sin of Pride.
Yep.
And
This is their embodiment of pride, evidently.
I guess, yeah. I mean, the mini is cool as all get out, kind of Cthulhu-esque. I like that. I like the Apocalypse. I like, he's got Pride cards, but even with his Pride cards, I didn't really see the theme coming through with that. That I didn't understand. That I didn't get. Mm-hmm. It just felt like a dungeon crawl. Mm-hmm. With little things here or there where I kept seeing Faith. Like, we were called Faith. I don't know why Thorley is Faith or a werewolf is Faith, but we were the heroes. We were Faith. I just didn't get the theme coming out of it. It was still fun, but I wanted Pride. Like, I wanted to see that come through. Maybe I need to play others. Maybe you need to go find all the expansions so that we can have all 7 sins and play through them. But that for me is a negative. I like the storytelling aspect of games. I want to walk away where we continue to talk about the story that we just went through. Mm-hmm. And this was just jumping into a dungeon and killing some things.
And I got more of the theme, but I read the rules, right? Mm-hmm. And I didn't, and there's a whole bunch of neat little like sidebar news things and transmissions and stuff as you're reading the rules if you take the time to read it. And I kind of got that hype of this is the city of Haven and you've got this, evil cult. It's always an evil cult, right? The club. It's kind of like the Hellfire Club from X-Men, it's kind of what it reminded me of. But, and then it's knockoffs of Hellraiser looking bad guys. And then you've got, the Hellraiser looking Hulk version and stuff like that. But I kind of I got into it, but you can't, when you're sitting down to teach a game, you can't teach the game, do all the fluff, and then get a game played in an evening. We're not starting at 2:00 in the afternoon. We're starting at 7:00 at night and don't have everybody there until midnight. So, there's only so much you can do. And it's like, let's get down and really crunch in and try to play the game. So I get it. But yeah, I understand where he's coming from. Mm-hmm. Any other cons?
Honestly, not really. You
didn't like the dying of the characters, though.
Well, no, I never do. But that's not because of this game and how they did it.
Right.
Like, I am not typically the person that wants to get into fights and conflicts and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's fun in games, but that's not my style. I don't like my characters dying. I mentioned that already. Alex was fine with it. He was like, just let him die. Who cares? Just let him die. And I was like, no, my character, I'm invested with this character now. I don't want him to die and get another one. So, no, I don't like that, but that's not a con against the game.
Makes sense.
That's just me and what I enjoy and do not enjoy when it comes to role-playing games or tabletop games. So,
I guess the other con, and this is probably just more of I'm bad at board games, right? They're like, these guys have special abilities, and then there's a rule for Pride that if the character is by himself, then I get an extra dice roll or something like that. It's easy to kind of forget that those things are there. The doctor, you can once per turn, so out of their 8 movement turns, you can summon a doctor to their location, and then you mark them, and then they can't heal for the rest of the turn. But you're still using an interrupt, and then by the time you kind of end up trying to save them toward the end, and then toward the end you're not using that ability. So, trying to understand the puts and takes and when you should and when you shouldn't do something, and that takes, and we haven't played it 10 times, and we are really good at Cthulhu Death May Die, and we don't lose anymore.
We do not often.
Hasn't been in a while.
No, it hasn't.
So, but I mean, this is new, and this is all those things that go on with the newness. But it's just something to keep in mind as you're looking at it. And the other thing is, we are reviewing a game that is not available anymore. So please keep that in mind. I'm talking about that in the value of the game, but this is not easily available. It's secondhand market only. So, any other cons?
I don't know. No, I mean, it's not a bad game.
No.
So,
what is the weight?
Yeah, so BGG is putting this at 3.03, and I think that's pretty spot on. I actually, the more that we talk about it, the more that we process the game, in the moment, I might have said it might have been a little bit higher because I thought it was so tight and punishing in the beginning, but as we played it, it was like, okay, it's not just punishing. It is. It very much is in the beginning. But there was more to it that unpacked, but it wasn't overly difficult. Now, I have not played the Sin character, so I don't know if you would say that Sin is more difficult than ours. It's different. You've got to manage when you're going to use your interrupts, and if you don't use them during our play, well, you just wasted interrupts. And or if you use them right away, then what are you going to do for the rest of the turn? You know, maybe you have a different thought on the weight, but from the Faith character side, you know, it's not a 2.5. It's not just a basic medium weight game, but we're not getting into the heavyweights. So I think a 3 is completely accurate.
Yeah, and Zombicide's in the 2s, right? And I read the rules, thought the rules they're well written, but then I had to actually like sit and I played both sides of the fence as a solo. I played about halfway through so I could understand the mechanics of both sides, make sure I was getting the rules right. And so it's definitely not a 2 learn.
Yeah.
So I think a 3 is right. Once you get it, then it's like, okay, this is, heroes get to do 2 things. They get an action and they get a move. You know, that's pretty basic. And then on the understanding what the Sin can do, and the Sin's not difficult. Like I said, but you're restricted. You don't get, they get 8 turns, you get 3. Yeah. And then you might get more as things go on, but that's just how it works.
I will say in comparison to something like Zombicide, this is much more fiddly. Much more fiddly.
So that's where we're at with that.
What about the value?
So I know that they say, and I may do a series 1 video on, CMONs always keep their value or they always sell for more and everything like that. You can find any CMON game for $85. Now it's going to hold its value, but if you're paying $110, now this didn't have all the extra Kickstarter stuff, mind you, and the box is a little, it's got some white spots on it. It's not damaged or anything, but everything inside had not been opened. It was still sealed, unpunched, hadn't been touched. And
granted, this game was published in 2016, though.
I know,
so a little bit of box damage, even for a new game, is not bad.
Yeah, so it's 7 years old, something like that, right? And you've got, you can find them, and you just like they're also trying to sell it to you for $200. That value is it's not worth it, right? You can get other current CMON games that are fun and that are still in stock, and you don't have to pay a bunch of money for them. But get Cthulhu, Death May Die. If you can't find this, you can find that. Should be in that $90 range. Would be fine. Or you can you look a little bit and you'll find this for $85. So I think it's a solid 3 value. Now, if I try to say, but for your experience, for our experience, my experience, I would say this is a 3 out of 5. Cthulhu, it's one of our favorite games, and it's 5 out of 5. But still pay more for it.
But
but it goes along with the experience. But I think this is every CMON game.
I think that's a spot on thing.
But don't pay more. I wouldn't go out and try to pay scalper prices now. Would be my recommendation.
I agree with that.
But I think it's a good value. I don't think it's a great value. I don't think it's a horrible value. But if you're going to pay $200 for it or $150, then I would say no.
Or call him. So what about the rating of this game?
So I like it more than you. I don't like it as much as Cthulhu, and we're probably going to do a compare and contrast video on that as well at some point here in the near future. But for me, I liked it. I think it's an 8. I mean, like, if you look at, what do we say? Very good, enjoyed playing, would suggest it. Like, I can suggest this. If you like Cthulhu, if you want something a little different to try out and to see the evolution of where it came from, I enjoyed it. I mean, it's just different, but I can recommend it. It's just not in stock. So don't pay $200 for it. I can't recommend it for that.
No, I would.
Or $150.
I would be so sad if I paid $200 for this.
And at the same time, I don't think I thought I was going to I'm going to go out and find all the other sins and I see them all out there and all that. I don't need that. This is enough. This is, this is enough of an experience. I can go all in as we have on Cthulhu.
I was going to say, says you when...
that's I can go crazy there. And I wanted this experience. I've liked this experience. I paid for it. I sought it out. There's bias in that. but I liked it.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, at worst, if I got tired of it, it would be a 7. But it's not a 6 or a 5 or anything.
Yeah.
Anywhere near that. And you, is it a 2?
It's not a 2. It's not a 2. I wanted to like this more. Yeah. I did, especially because it was introduced to me as it's kind of like it's precursor to Death May Die or similar to it, Zombicide, etc. Based on the rubric of how BGG kind of lists their point values, 6 is an okay game, and I'm willing to play it. 7 is a good game, and I'll play it if others are playing it. I'm giving it a 6.5. I want to like it more, and maybe I will if we play it more, but the experience that we've had playing this game versus the experience that we have playing something like Death May Die, all day long I'm going to go to Death May Die, and this doesn't give me the same excitement and enjoyment out of it. So maybe it would change. Maybe I need to become full of pride and play Sin, but I don't think I would enjoy Sin. I think I enjoy the hero side. I don't think you're going to
enjoy that as much.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you don't like fighting, and the bad guy is all about killing the other people.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe I'll find my sinful side.
So this is our haven't played it 10 times review.
You kind of call it first impressions versus a little bit more than that, but
more than that. But we're just trying to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But I was really interested in it, and I've been wanting it, and so I finally pulled the trigger on it when I saw a good deal. So that's where we're at. Just remember, we enjoy doing these. We enjoy sitting and talking about these. Like I said, I know it's an older game. I don't know how many people are really going to be that interested in it, but we enjoy you coming along for the journey, sitting around and listening to us BS.
Yes. If you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up. If you did not enjoy this review, let us know why. Let us know what your thoughts are on this game. If we missed the mark completely, maybe there is something that we greatly missed, and that would help us to enjoy it a lot more. Let us know that down below as well, or maybe you're on Brad's fence and say this is 8. This is a very good game. So, but thank you guys so much for watching. Let us know your thoughts. Thank you for sticking around with us to the end.
And just remember, no matter how you play, whether it's solo, with family, or friends,
enjoy whatever games you are bringing to the table.
Have a great night.
Bye.